You think working from home means a flexible schedule, better focus, and if you're a dad like me, more time with your kids. But a month in, you are arguing with your partner about your work hours. You don't even remember the last time you got a workout in, and you feel like both a bad dad and a bad employee. This video walks through the 10 things that I wish someone had told me when I first started working from home, particularly as a dad. So that way you can protect your focus, stay present with your family, and still move your career forward. Tip number 1, your career will suffer without clear boundaries. One of the biggest conflicts that I see other work from home dads getting into is unclear boundaries with their partner about their working hours. I was talking to a friend of mine and he was saying that every day him and his partner would get into an argument over whether or not she'd be able to go to the gym that day because he's like, well, I've got meetings during that time. She's like, well, I didn't get to go this week at all. And every day there was that same uncertainty whether or not he was gonna be able to get his work hours or she was gonna be able to go to the gym while he watched their son. And so what I suggested to him is to have a default schedule that they could both agree on. He finds out, hey, what days would you love to go to the gym? Tuesday, Thursday? Great. From 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock every Tuesday and Thursday. That is gonna be your time. I will take the boy. I'll make sure I don't schedule any meetings during those times, and then you can go ahead and get what you need. And then outside of those times from 9 to 11, then again from 1 to 4, that was his dedicated work time and she would watch their son. So going into the week, there were clear expectations, there were clear boundaries, focus time was protected, there were fewer interruptions, and everyone got what they needed. And when you're defining these pockets of time where you're working, aim for 6 to 8 hours, not 10 or more hours. Giving yourself a little bit less time every day will focus your energy rather than just having 10 or more hours to try to get it all done. You can't do great work if you're winging it every day, so come up with a default schedule that you and your partner can agree on. Tip number 2 is just know that your kids will blow up your schedule. It's very common when you work from home, if your kids are also at home during the day when you're working, that they may bust in. They want to see you, they want to play, then you're facing distraction from your work, you're facing guilt for not playing with them. The solution to this is not a perfect solution, but it's similar to tip number 1, and it's just having a conversation with your child. Even kids as young as 5 years old can understand, hey sweetheart, I'm gonna work and I'm gonna stop working at 11 right before lunchtime, so that way we can play together. But I'm not gonna be able to get my work done if you keep coming into the office, so I'm gonna need you to stay outside the office so that way I can make sure I get my work done, okay? I'll be candid, a 3-year-old doesn't really care about that explanation. And that's where that first conversation is, if you have a partner that is at home with you, that they are watching the kids and they're not coming to get you or letting the kids come in during your dedicated work time unless the house is on fire. But set those boundaries, have those times where you are going to stop working and spend time with them, eat lunch with them. And if it's a situation where your kids are home sick, do yourself a favor and don't try to also work that day. If they're sick and they're sleeping all day, maybe make it a half day. Or maybe you're in a situation like I was one time where I had 2 kids, they were both homesick, but there was this really important meeting where I had to update my team on certain things before they could move forward. So early in the morning when the kids were asleep, I recorded a short Loom video update and I sent it to the person that was leading the meeting to share it with the team on where I was at with everything. And that was all the work that I did that day because I had 2 sick kids to tend to. But set those clear boundaries. Don't try to work and be with your kids at the same time because you will fail at both of them. Tip number 3, you have to create the time to work out. The best way that I have found to make this happen when it feels like I do not have time to work out is to layer working out with something else. In the morning, I usually have about an hour and a half before I have to take my son to school. And many days I put him in the running stroller and we go for a run before school. He enjoys the morning air, I'm getting my workout in, and I'm not listening to music or a podcast because I do want it to be an opportunity for us to connect if he wants to talk during this time as well. Another situation is if I have a meeting where I don't necessarily have to be participating very much and I can have my camera off, my microphone muted, I'm really just listening in for most of it, I will open up the call on Zoom on my phone, I'll put my headphones in, and I will go for a run and listen to the meeting. Sometimes if there's a slideshow, I will have the slideshow up on my phone while I'm running, so if I need to stop and zoom in and look at something, oh, okay, great, and then I keep going. And that has been a great way to get the workout in while I'm actually working. And honestly, I am paying more attention on that run, or if I'm lifting weights or something like that, than I would be in front of my computer filled with a ton of distractions. So whether it's a stroller run, whether it's working out on a call, plan for it, make time, and put it on the calendar.
Tip number 4, skipping breaks will make you less productive.
You think, it's a busy day, I've got to grind, because if I grind, I will get more done. But the reality is, you will not get more done. You will probably get the same, if not less, done. There's this idea that if you give yourself 10 hours to do something, you're gonna fill up the 10 hours to do it. If you gave yourself 8 hours to do the same thing, you're gonna get the same amount of work done in 8 hours. So take the break. I love a midday break because I start working at 9 and by around 11 o'clock, I'm kind of mentally fatigued, and getting up and getting some exercise or taking a nap or having lunch with the family or doing something just away from work resets my mental energy and my physical energy. So that way when I come back to my computer, I have more energy to get the work done that I need to get done, and I have a smaller window of time, which amplifies my focus as well. Work will expand to fill the time that you give it. So take that midday break so it'll reset your energy and it will help you get more done in less time. Tip number 5, don't waste your time meal prepping on Sunday. Most people, when they meal prep, spend 2 hours on a Sunday cooking a bunch of food, chopping a bunch of stuff up, portioning it out into 5 separate little containers and stuffing those into the fridge. Only for the end of the week to come and you are now eating food that's just been sitting in the fridge for 5 days. A better plan is to plan out your dinners for the week so you know that you'll have a little bit of leftovers for the next day or two, and just have a staple lunch that is easy to make in case you don't have some of the leftovers that you can utilize. So my lunch is typically just a bowl of spring mix and some kind of protein, whether it's leftover fajita steak, maybe some pork tenderloin that I had the night before that I heat up on the grill. I throw some cheese on there, I throw some salsas in there, and that is my lunch. It saves time. The food is a lot fresher than it would be if I had meal prepped it on Sunday. And since I'm using a lot of leftovers, there still is some variety from day to day. Pro tip, if you've got a meeting at lunchtime, having a simple lunch like this could easily be prepped in the 10 minutes before the meeting, so that way you can sit down, eat your food. You don't have to apologize for eating on a call. It's literally the middle of the day. Tip number 6, delete Slack and email from your phone. For a long time, I had Slack and email on my phone, and a lot of times in the afternoon, I'd be done working, I'd be hanging out with my kids, we'd be playing on the floor, and then they would start playing with each other, and I'd just be sitting back and I'd be like, well, let me just get out my phone and just kind of check in and see what's going on. It made me feel like I was staying on top of things. Inevitably, what would happen is something important would come up and I'd be reading it, and that's when my kids decide they want to play with me again. And now I'm like, stop, I'm trying to mark this as unread so it doesn't fall through the cracks later. And now I'm frustrated with them, and now I feel guilty because I got frustrated with them because I was looking at work when I said I was gonna be playing with them, and it's just not worth it. Work will never turn off if it is always in your pocket. And you are already going to be checking Slack and your email multiple times, dozens of times a day on your desktop. You don't have to be available when you go to the bathroom or when you sit down for lunch or when you're going on a walk with your kids. If you have to keep it on there, then I recommend getting a device called a brick, which is a way of actually blocking apps and even scheduling times for those apps to be blocked, and you can't just easily be like, you know what, I still want to open it. You would have to physically take your phone, go up to the brick to unlock those apps during the scheduled time. For the love of all things that are holy, if you do keep it on and you don't get something like a brick, turn off the notifications. You are giving everyone at your company the opportunity to tap you on the shoulder at any point of the day, no matter what you're doing, and say, hey, do you got a second? Set those boundaries up. Tip number 7, loneliness can creep in quickly. It is already hard enough to make friends as a grown man. And if you throw working from home on top of that, and now you have no colleagues that you see, you may not have a gym that you go to, you may not have a church that you're a part of, the loneliness and isolation becomes very real. And this is not an introverted, extroverted thing. We as people are meant to be in communities. Online communities are great, but they're not a full replacement for having that in-person connection. And as dads, we are lucky to have our partners and our kids, but we need friends as well. For me, I'm a part of a local church, which has been super helpful. I try to at least have coffee or lunch with one person every week. For me, that's Wednesday morning. That's my day where I have the least amount of meetings, and so I've got a little bit of that time to spare. And I think through like, okay, who can I reach out to get coffee on Wednesday morning or to get lunch on Wednesday afternoon? If you do have the capacity, joining some kind of exercise class or group is super helpful, because not only does it give you that exercise, but it gives you an opportunity to get out of the house. It gives you a community of other people that you can go to. For me, that is jujitsu. I try to go twice a week, usually once during the week and once on the weekend. Highly recommend it as a way of getting exercise in, as well as that community piece. And even as something as simple as when I go around the neighborhood and see people, as easy as it is, just say morning and then just keep walking, actually just taking the time to stop, say like, I don't think we've met. I'm Tom. I actually live over at the end of the street. If you don't find ways to build real connection, the isolation will eat away at your mental health. Tip number 8, have a dedicated workspace. I was talking to one dad who said he works in the kitchen because he had to give up what was his office to their new child, and he likes the idea of working from home and feels since he works from home, he should be available, and working in the kitchen allows him to do that. But back to point number 1, he felt like he wasn't doing well in his job. He felt like he wasn't actually being present as a dad and as a partner. So I asked him if there was anywhere in the house that he could potentially have as a dedicated workspace. And he said, well, the attic is pretty junky right now and it's been on my to-do list to clean up, but I think if I do clean it up, that would be a good spot. And so he did that. And he said, it's just been so great to just have that dedicated space away from the family, so that way he can focus, lock in at work, and he's even out of sight from the family, so it helps with them feeling like, okay, dad's at work right now. And it's particularly helpful to even create a mental boundary for himself of like, this is where work happens. Work isn't happening where I also eat dinner or where I sit and lounge with my family in the living room. If you can, have a dedicated space that is where your work happens. If that is not possible, then I highly consider making the investment in a co-working space that you go to a couple times a week, so that way you can have at least a few days of that dedicated workspace. Tip number 9, don't just start checking things off your to-do list when you start working. What a lot of guys do is they've got this big list of things that they need to do, and then they will just start working through it in the order that it comes to them. It's very reactive, and then by the time 5 o'clock comes, they realize this big top priority project that they were supposed to be working on did not get done. And so now they're working nights, now they're working weekends to get these top priorities done. The solution is to spend the first hour of every Monday to create a weekly map. That's where you take all of your tasks from your calendar, from your email, from your Slack, from your project management, from everywhere that tasks come in from, and you put it in one big list. And then you sort that list into top priorities, medium priorities, and low priorities, where the top priorities are the things like, I need to make sure that this stuff gets done this week. Medium is like, it would be really great if this stuff did get done this week, but if not a huge deal. And low priorities is like, if I don't get this done, like no sweat off anybody's back. Then at the beginning of each day, grab a note card and actually write down what your 2 to 3 most important things are for that day from that list. You need to focus on the top priorities early on in the week to ensure that those things do get done. This is how you avoid working weekends. If you don't plan for those top priorities, they end up getting buried. And this weekly map is just one of the key pieces that I have implemented in my own system to create a 6-hour workday for myself. And I've actually put the whole thing in a free playbook if you'd like a step-by-step guide on how I've put this system together, and you can find it in the top link of the description. Tip number 10, your personal brand online is your job security. LinkedIn as a social media platform in particular is not just the place you go to when you need to find a new job. It's a place where you can develop your own professional reputation in your industry and create that job loss insurance. So that way, if you do lose your job, you've built up this credibility as someone who knows what they're doing in your industry. For most dads who don't have a lot of time, I recommend just actually focusing on engaging in comments on posts that are related to your industry and actually sharing your perspective, your insights, your experiences to add to the conversation. If you do want to post, you don't need to post more than 2 or 3 times a week where you share your expertise in those posts. But the biggest return on investment for the least amount of effort is actually spending time engaging and commenting on relevant posts in your industry. This actually happened to me. I was laid off in the summer of 2025, and I had been posting on LinkedIn for over a year. And a lot of it was related to what I was doing in my day job as a social media and YouTube strategist. So that way, when I got laid off and I announced like, hey, I got laid off and this is the kind of work that I'm looking for, I got opportunities immediately from different CEOs of companies and saying like, hey, would love to work with you in some capacity. So don't wait until you lose a job to start building your online reputation. Start now. If you'd like a little bit more guidance on how to actually do that on LinkedIn, you can check out this video right here, where I share my system on how to build your personal brand and post on LinkedIn without being cringe and build up your job security in just 20 minutes a day. I'll see you over there.